My mother-in-law removed my daughter from the family photo and said that she was not of their blood. I left the celebration, but the following week, during the inheritance meeting, the lawyer opened an old envelope. The moment everyone heard the name written inside, my mother-in-law's chair was the first thing to slide backward. My mother-in-law removed my daughter from the family photo. She stood in front of everyone and said, "This child is not our blood." And in that moment the smile I had carried for years for this family disappeared. I took my daughter's hand, walked out of the celebration and never looked back. But I had no idea that the following week, during an inheritance meeting, an old envelope would be opened, and the name written inside would change everyone's life. The first person whose chair would slide backward would be my mother-in-law, as if the ground beneath her feet had suddenly disappeared. That day still plays in my mind like an old movie. Sometimes it pauses, sometimes it starts again. At 3 a.m. I find myself standing in the kitchen of my suburban home, the soft glow from the refrigerator lighting up my face, and I wonder, how many times does a mother have to be strong for her child? We lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Seattle. From the outside, our home looked perfect: white wooden walls, a small garden, and streetlights shining through the windows at night. People thought we had the complete American family. My husband David, our little daughter Emma, and David's mother Margaret. But some relationships look beautiful on the outside while hiding silent wounds underneath. Emma was my whole world. When she came into my life, it felt like the world had given me a new reason to keep going. She was not David's biological daughter, at least not by blood. David had accepted me during the hardest chapter of my life, and after we married we raised Emma as our own. David always said, "Love matters more than blood." But Margaret never accepted that. She made Emma feel different in small ways. Sometimes she would say, "Your eyes don't look like anyone in our family." Other times she would laugh and say, "I wonder who you really take after." I stayed quiet, because I believed time would change things. Maybe one day she would accept Emma. Maybe one day she would understand that being a parent was about more than DNA. But at that family dinner, she crossed every line. It was a large gathering to remember Margaret and David's parents. Relatives had come from Portland, David's cousin had traveled from Boston, and the house was filled with laughter. The coffee machine kept running, children were playing around, and I was fixing Emma's hair before the family photo. Then it was time for the picture. The photographer called everyone together. I stepped forward with Emma, but Margaret suddenly stopped me. "Emma is not coming here." For a second I thought I had misunderstood. "What?" She looked at me coldly and said, "This is a family photo. She is not our blood." Those words. Just a few words, but I saw immediately what they did to my daughter's little heart. Emma lowered her eyes. She didn't say anything. She simply held her doll tighter. Something inside me broke. I looked at Margaret and said, "Family is not built by blood. It is built by the way we treat people." She smiled as if she believed she had won. I grabbed Emma's hand, picked up my bag and walked away. David followed me outside, but I only said, "I cannot stay somewhere that allows someone to make my daughter feel unwanted." That night I couldn't sleep. The sound of late-night TV played in the background, but I heard none of it. I thought about taking an Ambien to help me sleep. Then I stopped. No. I wasn't going to escape my pain. I needed to understand it. For hours I kept asking myself the same questions. Did I do the right thing? Did I just lose David's entire family forever? The next day David was quiet. Then he said something that shook me. "There is something I should have told you earlier." I looked at him. He said, "My mother always knew Emma was my daughter. She just never accepted her because she believed family belonged only to people who shared the same blood." Then he told me something I never knew. Before we got married, David had legally adopted Emma. All the paperwork was complete. We simply chose never to make her feel different. But the story didn't end there. A week later we were called to an inheritance meeting. There were matters involving Margaret's father's estate. I didn't want to go, but David told me, "Some things need to come to light." The attorney, Mr. Harris, asked everyone to sit down. Margaret looked confident as always. She believed she still had control over everything. Then the attorney placed an old envelope on the table. "This letter is almost 20 years old." The room became completely silent. He opened the envelope and read a name. Margaret's expression changed. The name belonged to Emma's biological mother. The attorney explained that Margaret's husband had left a letter before his death. In it, he wrote that family was not only about inheritance or shared blood, but about the people we choose to love and protect. He had specifically written about Emma because he knew that one day someone might try to make her feel less important because she wasn't connected by blood. Then the attorney pulled out another document. It stated that if any child in the family was rejected because of their bloodline, a portion of the inheritance would be reserved to protect that child's future. Margaret's chair slowly moved backward. For the first time she had nothing to say. I looked at her face, and strangely I didn't feel happiness. I thought I wanted revenge, but in that moment I only felt sadness. Because she had lost something money could never buy. The love of an innocent child. I looked at Emma. She was sitting beside me holding my hand. And that was when I finally understood. The greatest victory was not defeating Margaret. The greatest victory was teaching my daughter that her worth was never decided by someone else's acceptance or rejection. That night when we returned home I still couldn't sleep. The house was silent. The refrigerator light came on again and the sound of the coffee machine announced that morning was near. I stood by the window and for the first time in days felt peace. I realized something. I had protected my daughter, but even more than that I had found myself. I was never born to beg for a place in someone else's family. I was already complete with my love, my dignity and my daughter. Outside, the sky slowly began to brighten. The night was ending, and an old pain inside my heart was ending with it. A new day was coming, and this time I was not just a mother. I was a woman who finally understood that her value was never measured by someone's bloodline, but by the light she carried inside her. A new day, a new me. If this story touched your heart or made you see the true meaning of family, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel for more emotional and inspiring stories. Your support means so much to us and helps us continue sharing stories that connect with people around the world. Thank you sincerely for watching.